Welcome to the Aro Benaiah Show. Today, I'm thrilled to have Melanie Gorman, and CEO strategy with over 20 years of experience in digital marketing and online visibility. Melanie bridged the world of counseling, psychology, and digital strategy, helping therapists, coach, and service-based entrepreneur grow thriving practice online. She's here to share actionable insights on common sense CEO on content marketing and how small business owner can finally get found without overwhelming gimmicks. It's really a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So, how was it like growing up for you, Melanie?
Well, it was not like my kids. My children I have a cushy life compared to the way I was raised. So I grew up in the United States. I grew up in Maryland, so right outside of Washington, D.C. So um I went to high school and college and started working immediately. I've been working in the mental health space for 25 years, like a long time.
Wow, wow, it's really a long time. Wow, amazing. So, what was the pivot moment when you realized you could combine therapy and online strategy?
So I had a couple moments. The first, Nora, no. First was when my daughter saying hello.
Yeah.
The first when I was in graduate school and my grad school, the person that was teaching the counseling, the class for how to become a therapist, and I were talking, and I asked her how I could make a living as a therapist. Like, how could I pay back my student loans? And for me, that was a very big, I needed to do that. Like, I went to school and took out student loans to pay for it. And I was like, how does a therapist make money? And she basically said, you work in community mental health um and that's it. Like, it's sort of a give back job. You're not going to make a lot of money. You're going to be giving and supporting people, which is a phenomenal, lovely career. Like, that's a wonderful thing to do. However, I knew I wanted to be able to do more and reach more people. So that was sort of the seed, if you will, of how I decided to figure out marketing. You know what I mean? Marketing is really all about how you reach people that need what you sell. Like, whatever it is you're offering, marketing is the communication or the method or the technology. And when she basically said that wasn't an avenue, what she was really saying to me was that mental health, it wasn't appropriate for people in mental health to make money. Like, you should just give back. And I was like, you can't pay back their student loan. I was like, "This doesn't work." So that was the beginning of it. And I worked for John Gray, who wrote a book that you may have heard of called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And
Yeah.
that was crazy popular. And I worked for him, like 20 years ago when the book came out. And so I learned a lot about marketing from that experience. And then I worked for a publishing company, and we had millions of people on our website every month. So all of that taught me that people in uh, mental health, whether they're coaches or they're therapists or they're workshop providers or they teach courses, there's a pathway to make a good living. And so that's a lot of what I do with my life now.
Wow, it's really amazing. It's just the fact that the way you actually start your entrepreneurship journey, you have student loan to pay, and here you are as a therapist, and looking at it, you couldn't make ends meet owing to the demands and the little time you have within your confines to actually make that whole lot of money to pay up, and still being able to kind of do the basic necessity. What actually now inspired you to start Carve Media, and how did you get started?
So the publishing company I worked for, I helped therapists every day. So we helped therapists and coaches and all kinds of different, like personal development businesses write articles is a big part of what that job was about. So I was already helping that community. And when the pandemic happened, like everybody else was at home with everybody, and I realized there's so much more to it. So I had been on the edges of helping people's businesses. I was doing business coaching and practice building and stuff, but not really purposefully. I didn't have a program or a system. So I wanted to do that. And I was like, I could do this. I could do anything. I'm a big believer in trying things out and being optimistic. That was when I decided to start the business. And I started slowly. I stayed, I was at my corporate job and had a client here, a client there. And eventually I was like, I have to really do this. So Crownsville Media is we do websites, we do all the digital marketing, we write all the content. So I realized in the journey that I have a good ear for hearing what people want to sell,
Right.
right? That they're uncomfortable writing down or putting on a piece of paper or typing up themselves because sales isn't their first language and they're not necessarily comfortable doing that. And I can translate people really well. So that's a little bit of the journey.
Wow, amazing. I think it's just the fact that after your college days, after more like your schooling, you just more like struck you that asking the questions, how can I pay my students alone, just speak volume to you already thinking of possibility. And also, I was more curious that then how did you now start your entrepreneurship journey? Do you always have it figured out before now? Was there anything that actually more like shaping that? Because being an entrepreneur is one thing, studying therapy, a whole lot of persons who are into more like the medical field doesn't know much about entrepreneurship or just diving out and doing their things. How does the journey begin? Or more like, have you done some couples of things in that particular route before you actually graduated?
No, I did therapy first, right? So therapy was my first career. And I always kind of knew, like, I don't know, I came from a family where I was always the person people talk to. Like I was always the one that, people told their stories to. When I was in college, I was a waitress. You know what I mean? Everybody, when you
Yeah.
wait table, do all that, like you talk to people. So I always had that personality. The entrepreneurship, um, at all of my jobs, I've been a self-starter. Like I'm definitely the person, I'm the firstborn child in my family. Like, I'm the one that's like, let's go figure this out. Let's try something. Let's go somewhere new. Let's try something different. And I'm constantly learning new things. I'm super curious. I listen to audiobooks when I drive my kids back and forth to school. I use all kinds of AI tools now because that's the new hot thing. So entrepreneurship is really in my DNA. Like I am not one to sit here and go, oh, somebody fix me and fix my life. And not that person. Of course, I don't like, a week ago, let's try this. Right. So I'm
Wow.
much more that.
Amazing. Amazing. So you coined the term common sense CEO. What does that mean and how is it different from what people typically think of CEO?
Yeah. 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 And you mean SEO, I think.
SEO, forgive me. SEO.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So SEO is like the way I explain it to my clients is it's how strangers look for you, right? So when you have a product or something that you're selling, you're often selling it to the lead pool or the folks that already know your business, right? So however your reputation lives online or in your network. So SEO is really about taking what you're selling and marketing it to people that don't know you. So, and it's language choices. So it's keyword, where you're identifying how people look for what you're selling. So, and it doesn't matter what you're talking about. You could be talking about flowers, you could be talking about plumbing, you could be talking about mental health, you could be talking about podcasting. It doesn't matter. So the formula for how it works is very similar across all industries. Common sense to me, common sense SEO is really looking at how each individual business owner wants to do their marketing and where their natural audience lives. In today's market, there's something called omnipresent SEO, which really has to do with like, are you everywhere? Like, are you on every single channel? Is your website, newsletter, like, are you doing everything? And it's kind of impossible for a lot of small business owners. It's very expensive. It takes a lot of time. So the way that I approach it is looking at the small subsets of where your clients live, what you're willing to do or not do. So, let's say you want to make videos. Like if you're a podcaster, like for all the people we do SEO for that are podcasters, podcasting should also be in video, should also be on YouTube. Those YouTube videos can be on LinkedIn, they can be on
Yeah.
Instagram, right? So like thoughtfully cross using, like cross pollinating, the content. So you're not always creating something new. and avoiding all the things you're not interested in. Like, if you don't want to have a store, well, you don't need to be on Pinterest. You know what I mean? So I think common sense is important because we all have limited budgets and limited time. Yes, there are things you can hire out. Like, a lot of people hire us to write all of their articles, right? Because they don't want to write, they don't like writing something, right? Or they don't have the time for it. So there are economical ways you can hire help. But then as a business owner, there are things only you can do. Like, I am the only one that can be on the podcast from Crownsville Media because I own the company, right? So if my team got on, well, it wouldn't be the same, you know? So I think common sense approach is really like being authentic and, kind of thinking about your limitations as a business owner and your team. So you get more out of it when you approach it that way. And I don't really, there's a lot of things in the SEO space that people tell you to do that really don't amount to much. They don't help you, they don't do much. And all of my decisions are data driven. So, yes, I have an opinion about things because I've done this kind of work for 20 years, but the truth of the matter is that I have to be able to prove to you that my opinions are valid, because without proof, it could be anybody saying anything, right? Yeah. So data is very, very important to be able to make an argument for why you should do certain kinds of marketing and not do other kinds of marketing. So all of that, kind of makes up that common sense approach. And in the end, it saves people time and money and it gets them more of what they want. So that's a high
Yeah.
level look at my value system there.
Wow. Amazing. I think everything just make reference, just speak volume to being authentic, kind of considering the various end on how you could actually engage it and be realistic, what work, what doesn't work, where common sense actually come into being, and at the end of it, just stay true to your authentic self. And so what how can small business owner compete with larger national brand online with SEO?
So through your unique niche, like your niche, right? So right now everything is AI. Like, AI is the hypey thing. Everybody's talking about it, right? And so when you're a small business and you want to you want to compete in a space where there's like big businesses, right? You have to figure out what the unique angle is for your business and why you're special. And really why that fits within the value system of the consumer. Like, why would somebody, if you're selling, like, let's say you're a tennis shoe store and you have like, you know, really cool, amazing running shoes. So how is it that your shoes are different than Nike? Right? To be able to compete in a ChatGPT kind of world, the uniqueness of your shoes, and maybe it's how they're made, where they're made, like they do something specific for a certain kind of foot. They're good for short people or tall people. Like, the uniqueness of what you do is more beneficial inside of a chat GPT, because like the data for chat is that, like, a Google search, the average search is 3 or 4 words. So tennis shoes size 6. That's my shoe size, right? Size 6 tennis shoes, right? For women. Inside of ChatGPT, I can say size 6 shoe for a woman. I'm 5 foot tall, who is 50 years old and new to running and worried about twisting my ankle because I have an old injury from high school that I don't want to do again. I mean, you could ask this long query, right? Chat will use your website and the material on your website. And that, of course, needs to be laid out
Yeah.
in a specific way, but it can use that material to then say, okay, so Melanie's shoes are better than Nike for this reason, right? Melanie's shoes help small feet with, extra ankle support, blah, blah, blah. But it pulls all that stuff from your website. So you have an opportunity to compete with big brands inside of AI specifically. It's harder inside of Google. Google's rules are very
Yeah.
different, right? Google is going to, like, look at how long you've been online, and they have a lot of rules that actually are very important, I think, especially in places like mental health, because Google is going to make sure that if you're a therapist and you make some sort of claim about, whatever, that you've backed it up. You've cited your
Yeah.
sources, you're in the proof, right? Those details are really important. But ChatGPT gives people the ability to kind of play with the big dogs a little bit, and you can get some traffic from it, right? You definitely can. So this is one of the strategies.
Wow, it's really amazing. I think it's the fact that you make reference of your uniqueness, which simply speak volume to other business is small, just starting out. Their uniqueness through ChatGPT can actually be perceived. And sometimes people are actually more like clamor to what is authentic, being that they could see what they do differently starting out compared to, in quotes, the big companies who doesn't even know how they are faring and how they do things. And which really speak volume to, yeah, they really have more like a place in there for them. So, how do storytelling and personal narrative play into a website's SEO and overall digital presence?
Yeah. So storytelling is kind of bringing you to life on your website, right? So having the ability. So first thing I would say is when you're writing your website and you're writing your copy, you want to think about the personality of you that you're sharing. Are you super academic? And so you write with, like really refined, highbrow words. Are you really relatable? And so you start sentences with things like, and this or but that, or you're conversational in your writing style. I think the biggest compliment I've ever gotten from my website was a gentleman hired us to build his therapy website. And on the call he had with me, the first call, he said, I read your website and it felt like this conversation. It felt like talking to you. That is storytelling, right? So, storytelling is being, and this is the authentic thing, right? So, being you in your copy and not hiding behind um, pretense or, some sort of like super polished thing that you have to do. And I think there are industries that are more forgiving of this. The shoe industry, for example, like if you're selling tennis shoes, like go for it, like be you all over the place,
Yeah,
everywhere. I have a website, I have a client that I work for who's in finance, like super highly fancy finance in New York City. And on his website, he had a picture and he's wearing these they had to have cost several $100s, these tennis shoes that he's wearing. They're super fancy. But his clients are like $1 million people. And so his storytelling was really brave because he was like, yeah, you could go with all these other finance people, but with us, we're really authentically ourselves. And you're going to see us in our tennis shoes at work. You're not just going to see us in our super polished, shoes that you expect to see on finance on Wall Street. And that's an example of how somebody says, this is my business and I'm doing it my way. And it will turn some clients off because they're like,
yeah,
oh, I'm not sure. Right? And every business owner has to make those decisions for themselves. So, but your storytelling carries into all of your copy. It's how you self-disclose or don't. Like, do you tell stories like, I'm a mom of two. Like, do I tell people that? Yes, I do actually. Right. Some people would say, no, don't talk about your kids. Don't share anything about your family. That's a choice. It's a choice, and everybody gets to make their own choice.
yeah.
And that's one of the cool things about where we live now and how we live.
It's really amazing. I think it's the fact that you share stories of the person in finance and doing things that in quotes unconventional for persons in that particular field, which a whole lot of persons expect this level of professionalism. It should be this and not this. And I think in this day and age at time where AI is actually coming into being, where a whole lot of things are being making it things being professional, there are still other crowds who just want it. Yeah, I just want to relate with normal human persons who think differently, who want to do things in a crazy way. Yeah, just a way of seeing themselves in that particular picture that, yeah, if it was to be me, I would love to be that very way. Which sometimes it really will speak volume to. They come to trust them more, being that they could actually see through them and see themselves in these particular pictures compared to the other routes, which is in quote more professional, but not knowing what the person is outside being
Yeah.
professional.
That's right. That's right. And I think everybody gets to make that choice, right? And it couples out. It's the color palette, it's the copy, it's the photos, it's your logo, like the whole picture of you, comes through on your website. And, like this is authentically me. You know what I mean? I've read all those books. Like these are things from my kids. My
Yeah,
husband gave me those flowers this week. Like, you know what I mean? Like you get to decide how you want to show up. And as an entrepreneur and a business owner, I think that's one of the most fun things
yeah,
about being able to do. I mean, I don't work for somebody else because I don't want to live by somebody else's rules,
yeah.
right?
So true, so true. Amazing, amazing. So AI is actually changing content marketing. How should small business owner use AI strategically without losing authenticity?
Yeah, right. That is the question, right? I just put an article up on my website about this yesterday. So the rules, like just so everybody's clear, you can use AI for anything you want, right? Google has said it's fine. So there's no rules. You're not going to get in trouble if you write your article, your landing page or content using a chat GPT or Gemini or whatever. You're fine. The real name of the game is about interest and where people's attention goes. So if you use AI to write your content and it's boring because AI is just repackaging
Yeah,
what's already out there in the world, nobody's going to read it and it's going to hurt you, right? It's not going to grow with you. It's not going to help you get a lead or close a client. If you use AI to like the way that we use AI with people is we interview everybody. So every website we write or articles we write or all the stuff that we do, we interview our clients and we record calls so we can capture their voice. And that's the authenticity part. Someone's opinion shows up in how they answer a question or what they reference or like what the angle is that they care about. So authenticity is connecting your message and then ultimately what you're selling to what people need. That's the SEO part, but then doing it in your way, right? And that's the where your tennis shoes to work part, right? And so when you use AI, oftentimes what's really a good use of it is like either outlining or getting it started. There's a lot of people that struggle with, I don't know where to begin when they want to write an article or they want to do their social media post or they want to, it could be what you put on LinkedIn. People have trouble getting going, right? So if you use AI to help you get started, where your time and energy to keep it authentic needs to be is in you edit. Like you take whatever the tool spits out and then make it your own. So the result is that you don't really save any time whatsoever. It still takes you the same time, right? But you're coming at it from a different part of your brain, which for some people, it's a little easier if they're like, okay, now I can just like make this my own, right? As opposed to, I need to think of an original idea and get going. So authenticity is really critical because it's all the same stuff. Like the more you're using these tools to amplify who you
yeah,
are, you get better results.
yeah.
So and AI lets you use I mean, somebody was talking to me this week about it. She's also in finance and she was doing a series of presentations. And I said, well, why don't you capture the PowerPoint and the audio? You could upload those to ChatGPT and then you could have it like give you a summary or have it
Yeah.
give you like, based on what you said, what are good talking points for an article? And then you marry that with traditional keyword research. You can't get that in an AI tool. You have to have a paid SEM rush or account with another SEO tool. But you really could, like pull those things together and then create something that's your own, especially if you've already done that heavy lift of the PowerPoint or the talk or the podcast or whatever. So we use it all the time, to be honest. Like it pushes things forward faster. And in today's climate, websites that are really making it and getting traffic are publishing more content than they ever did before. So, trying to keep up with that, sometimes finding what is the gasoline for the fire, like how do you really get going is critical. And for a lot of people, it's AI. So it
Wow,
helps them.
wow. Amazing. I think this is really key. I think it's the first when you define what authenticity means, which actually more like connecting your message with what people need in your own ways. And it actually even speaks volume, being that AI could actually serve more like as an amplifier to your voice and in enhancing what you do and even giving you more like easy access to do it even more. And the part that you even make reference of, it make consistency make easier, being that the traditional way of getting content done without AI is very, very laborious. And even the fear of it alone could freak you out from even engaging in it. So AI coming in, AI coming in to be actually reduce a whole lot of this friction. Yeah, if we're to kind of actually more like channel the authenticity, it simply means that we should keep showing up every now and then with our authentic self using an AI. So that in that very way, our message can be passed very well. And over time, they get to understand and it get to resonate with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So what role does consistency play in content marketing? And why do so many fail at it?
Well, that's a great question. Um, yeah, marketing is tedious, to be fair. You know what I mean? Like anybody that's ever tried, like social media it's a grind. You know what I mean? Like if so, I think a lot of people fail because they start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. They're not consistent. I mean, consistency is the key variable in a lot of things in life. You want to lose weight or get fit, you got to go to the gym. You got to watch what you eat. You got to not just do it once, you got to do it every day, right? Marketing is not all that different. And a lot of people think of marketing as a project as opposed to an ongoing part of the business.
Yeah.
Small business owners get really distracted by clients. You know what I mean? So I hear all the time, like, I can't market my business because I'm busy working with my clients. You know what I mean? So they don't make time and they don't allocate budget to it. And there's also a lot of people that think it should be easier. I don't know where this assumption comes from, but I have said more than, I don't know, dozen, 2 dozen times in the last couple years, like, this is my full-time job. Like I do this all day, right? This is not the kind of thing where, like I just spend 5 minutes marketing something. You're marketing every day. So I think a lot of people fail at it because they don't approach it in the way that it's like a little bit all the time consistently. They do it in fits and starts, they'll do a little here, a little there, and they don't have the data to validate what worked and what didn't, nor do they understand how long things take to work. SEO is something we have a case study we're working on right now. We have a website we published in December. So 10 months ago, we published this website. And the website is getting, so we just started running Google ads. And prior to that, they were getting 4 to 6 leads organically just from the articles that we write on the website every month, right? Now that we've added ads to that, they're getting more like 10, maybe, and it could be more, could just turn up the budget, right? But you need to understand, like 10 months, an article every week, give or take, not perfect numbers. Maybe it's like 3 a month, right? It took a while, it's not instant. And we published the site in December, so it took 4 months before we even started seeing anything, right? People need to know. um, Yeah. So people are like, "My website's out there for 4 months and no one's coming." That's normal. You're not gonna, because Google has spam protection in place. So if you publish a brand new website on a brand new domain and you're not doing advertising, you are not gonna get traffic
Yeah.
instantaneously. Google doesn't know who you are, and it's gonna throttle back and not give lots of traffic to you right away because you have to prove yourself. And that's normal. People don't know those things. And so marketing falls down because I published my website, I bought 12 articles, I did a Facebook campaign for 3 weeks, I didn't get anything. I don't know what the problem is. It's not working. It is working. It's just working behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
And what happens with Google is you grow and you grow and you grow in your impressions. Do you know what I mean by an impression?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way you show up in various other places.
Yeah. So you get impressions before you get clicks. So if you look in your Google search console, you will have thousands of impressions to one click, right?
Mhm.
And that's normal. It's normal, right? And that's what people don't understand. They're like, what the heck? I have so much, so many impressions and nobody's clicking because your content's on page 37, right? Write some more content and prove that you're a website because any way you shake it, everything about SEO is math. It's all math. And people forget that. They think it could be popularity, but then it's popularity math. Like, yes, you could become, an instant super rock star celebrity on TikTok, and that will help you. Most of us will never be there. Most of us have to grow a little bit over time, and it's math compounds and it gets better the more you do. So they fail because they don't do it long enough and consistently enough.
Wow, this is really, really key. I mean, I'm just assuming the mental model that one has to kind of adopt towards doing showing off. Like, just imagine you make reverse of having 1,000 impressions and still yet no click. For me, it's just the meta masturbation of what the possibility, it freaked me out. I don't even know whether it's something I can actually even start. Let alone because I think before now I have more like a cleaning business and I think I was doing a whole lot of posting on Instagram. At one point, I stopped. I was tired. I was not seeing any result. I think it was after some days ago, someone reached out to me through it. I was like, wow, you mean that thing is still working? For me, I'm already giving up on it, hoping that it's not working. And I think this day and age and time where AI make content easier, consistency should be something that should be every now and then, mean that content is made easier now, and a whole lot of content is rolling in every now and then. So for the marketing teams, that means they have to do more to show more impression and being able to kind of get a whole lot of couples of clicks, which is not easy. I must say, kudos to those doing to market, because even just the meta model, it's crazy. And anytime I listen to Alex Omozi make reference of some thousands and thousands reach, I'll just be like, oh my God, let me just stick to where I am. it, it's, it's really a whole lot.
Pieces of advice is to look at where you grow and then bridge to something that's related, right? So I often talk to clients about this concept of bridging, like, and that could be, on your website, let's say you have 4 or 5 services that you sell product to, right? When you develop the sixth one, how does the sixth one relate to the other ones that are getting traffic? And can you find, keywords that are kind of connected? So, for example, in my world, if I'm working with a therapist that does anxiety therapy and then she wants to add trauma therapy, the word therapy is bridge, right?
Yeah.
Not counseling, right? So you're thinking about, and synonyms matter. So, not to say you shouldn't use the word counseling, but bridges are how you leapfrog ahead faster. And it works on social media, it works on content, like, so all of it is, consistent, slow growth over time. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to have those like quick wins.
Yeah, I think that was so amazing, amazing. So what is the biggest mind block you see in helping professionals trying to market themselves online?
Biggest block. So the mental block is that they think it should happen faster and they're not patient. We've already covered that. One of the bigger physical blocks is that their websites are dated and they need an update, right? So websites need to be updated about every 5 years. Could be 3, could be 8. Like,
Yeah.
there's a window in there. Things start to break. Technology, deprecates in the same way your iPhone, like, how all of a sudden your phone just kind of stops working, right? Your website's the same way. And you have to, a lot of people think of marketing and websites in particular as like set it and forget it. Like, it's done. I don't have to think about it. Uh, it's my online business card. I don't really have to focus too much on it. If you That is true if you have a really great referral pipeline. If people are like, calling you because you've helped, all these other people, and so they're just contacting you regularly. For everybody else, you have to make sure your website is quick. It doesn't have to load in like a half a second, but the technology of the website has to be there. And it is a mindset block. I talk to people all the time and they're like, "Well, I built it, 10 years ago. It should be fine." No, it's not. So I think like that relationship is a block for people. And I also, and we've covered this, like, being in the game all the time,
Yeah.
like, even if it's the kind of thing where you have to say like every other Friday for 2 hours, I'm going to focus on this, like something where it gets on your calendar. And we all know if something makes it to our calendar, it actually happens. And if it doesn't make it to our calendar, it doesn't. Right. So get in a relationship with your marketing, like make a plan, like how are you going to grow, right? Do a 3, 5 year plan. You'll see what you have to accomplish. Like, you'll see all the different steps. There's a lot to do. So, don't leave it in. That's the mindset shift that people need, is to not leave it until something breaks, but deal with it in little ways before you have a problem.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Thanks for that. How can service-based business turn online visibility to paying clients rather than just like and traffic?
So, I mean, are you offering something to people they really want to buy? You know what I mean? Like, part of the, you need proof in the pudding, as they say. And SEO, like someone like me, like one of the things I'll do for people is they'll say, I want to sell, like whatever they want to sell. These tennis shoes we talked about earlier, right? I want to sell these cool shoes. Well, I can tell them how often people look things up and what they are looking for online. So if you want leads, which is different than awareness or different than
Yeah.
giving people information, you have to write content to the lead. What AI is doing inside of like how people search. So search itself is changing. Google's not going anywhere because ChatGPT is here and
Yeah.
super big and all that kind of fun stuff, right? But what is shifting is how people get information. You can take your questions to ChatGPT and go through that whole part of the buyer's journey, right? Where you get all the information you need. You sort out like what product does it? Should I get this or should I get? I just did this the other day. I needed a plugin. We build on WordPress, and I needed a plugin for a quiz. I have a client that wanted to build online quizzes, right? And so I went to ChatGPT and I said, okay, here's all the specs of her website. It's WordPress. She's got 3 quizzes. We need them self-scoring. We want to be able to get leads. So, you take the quiz, you give us the email, and then we'll send you your results. So we needed the results segmented also. What tools do this? What's free? What's the cost? Is it? And I asked all of those questions. So by the time I went to the website I bought the tool from, I knew all of that already.
Yeah.
I knew what I was paying. And I went to the website to transact. So that's the other thing is that's where we're going. People are going to use these AI tools to as like a thinking partner.
Yeah.
In the ADHD space, I work a lot with people that are supporting people with ADHD. They have this idea of a brain partner, or they call it a body double. Like a body double is like you and I being together, and we're
Yeah.
both doing our homework at the same time, like
Yeah.
kids do. So, like my kid does. Body doubling is really how chat works with people because it just sits there with you and it thinks with you. But then you make your decision, then you go to the
Yeah.
website. So the website has to be ready to go. Great, let's buy something. So your store has to work, your calendar has to work, like all your transactional things need to be efficient, easy to find, like all that kind of good stuff. Your forms have to be there. And these are things that people haven't always thought so much about. So if you want more leads, that and then the other thing you can look at is Google Ads, like or advertising on whatever social channel you're on, because advertising gets you, theoretically to the front of the class, right? To the front of the race. You just have to pay for it. So those are things that help with lead gen.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much. And also, if someone could implement just one SEO on content marketing change this week, what should it be?
That is a fantastic question. You know what I would say? I would say go back to all of your consultation or intake calls, like every pre-sales call you've ever had with people last 3 months, right? Look at all of that stuff and figure out what they have in common. What are people asking you for? Is that what you're selling on your website? Right? If you're a therapist and everybody says, and you've got depression and anxiety, but everybody that's come to you is looking for couples, do you have stuff on your website for couples? So what are the gaps in what people tell you they want to hire you for and how your website and your marketing is set up? Find the gaps. That's the one thing you can do. How you solve for the gaps is different for everybody. You might need someone
Yeah.
like me to write articles or a web, like whatever. There's a lot of things there. But you have to understand how you're failing the leads that you're getting. Because if you closed all the leads that you had, you'd make more money, right? So
Yeah. So
period. Like
true.
all have the experience of, having someone come to us and we can't close them for whatever reason. We don't do what they want. It doesn't fit with our need. We sell them the wrong, like whatever those things are. If you find the gaps in how what the consumer wants and what you're trying to get them to do, you'll close more leads and make more money. And that if you can see more money on your bottom line, then you can think about things like outsourcing and hiring someone to help and doing the next things. Find the money you need, right? And then you're able to get what you really want, which is help.
Find the money you need and you're able to get what you really want. Yeah, thank you. So, looking ahead, what trend did you see in SEO and content marketing that every small business owner should prepare for?
What trend would I say? I mean, the AI trend is already in front of us. You know what I mean? So I think you need to be aware of where your leads come from, right? And how your competitors are closing leads that you're not seeing. You know what I mean? Part of the disruption that's happening with AI is that because ChatGPT doesn't look at content in the same way that Google does. What I mean very specifically by that is Google looks at how long your website's been online, how much content you have. Are you following all of their authority rules? Like, it's got all these kind of gatekeeper rules. And if you're a therapist or in what's called your money, your life, Your money, your life are industries where if you give bad advice, people could get hurt. It could be finance, it could be mental health, physical health. You could be a mechanic and tell people the wrong way to put a tire on and you kill somebody. Like we're all up for like extra scrutiny.
Yeah.
But ChatGPT doesn't surface content that way. What Chat does is it looks for big brand mentions, right? So, is there a quote in some big magazine or website talked about where you quoted in a, a newspaper of some kind, a local paper? It could be something really big like Psychology Today or CNN or Washington Post, something like that, or it could be something that's really notable in your community. Like if your community has one main newspaper, are you in that? And that will count. If your brand is not mentioned in things like that and you're not getting high profile links and you're not a big website, what are you doing in places like Reddit to be noticed? Right? So ChatGPT looks at those sources to decide what's the most popular. Chat is far more a popularity contest than Google is. Google is an earn it metric. Like you
Yeah.
earn your way in Google, you can just be popular and get into ChatGPT and be totally bogus. Like you could have Bubkiss for authority and you could get mentioned there, right? So, but you need to know what your competitors are, how they're showing up, and what they're getting in terms of chat mentions. I'll tell you this right now, the tools are terrible. There's no tool that will tell you at a clear, authoritative level how people are being mentioned in ChatGPT month over month. They're trying to give us that information. But like one of the things I do for people is like when I do a consultation, I screen share and I'm like, let me show you in my tools what your website looks like or what your business looks like. And the AI mentions, you'll see things like, you had 300 mentions last month and nothing today. How is it possible? Like, it's like that's the hallucination of ChatGPT. So you need to know what your competitors are doing. You need to understand the gaps in your marketing. And if you get ahead of that, then you have that's the trend to follow. Only the tools are only going to get better. The other thing with ChatGPT, I'll say is this. If you follow the news, ChatGPT has had a couple of challenges. There's been a couple of lawsuits because they've effectively stolen content to teach their model. There have been a couple of really unfortunate, sad situations where people have used chat to figure out how to do some pretty awful things.
Yeah.
Those guardrails or gatekeepers or rules, if you will, I think are coming. So that's a trend to watch for too. So the wild, wild west of ChatGPT that we have now, I don't think we're going to have in the future, but we'll see. We'll see.
Amazing, amazing. I think it's the fact that for every business owner, they should actually more like look back at what lead they've gotten before, how they could actually make most of it, and how they could actually channel what they do towards getting more of that lead, and watching out their competitor, what they are doing differently, how they get their leads. And I think this is pretty an awesome idea for every entrepreneur out there on what to do differently towards actually making most of our SEO and yeah, the platform generally. Yo, thank you so much. So, how can my audience learn more about you? How can they reach out to you, and how can they do business?
Thank you. That's very nice. So I'm sure in the description you'll put my website, but my website is called brownsvillemedia.com. And on the website, there's a calendar link where people can schedule a consultation with me. I will consult with anybody. And like I said, I share screens and I'll teach you what's going on with your business in Google's eyes. So you have a real data driven understanding. People can also email me. My email is just Melanie at crownsvillemedia.com. It's easy to find me. So happy to help if there's anyone that needs it.
Amazing, amazing. Definitely, it's going to be on the show notes so that my audience can easily reach out to you. So, Melanie, thank you for sharing your expertise and breaking down SEO and content marketing in such an approachable way. For a listener who wants to learn more and get actionable strategy for their business, visit scramvillamedia.com. Remember, marketing doesn't have to feel overwhelming with clarity, strategy, and heart. Your online presence can finally work for you. Yeah, it's really a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.